Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus entered a village where a woman whose name was Martha welcomed him. She had a sister named Mary, who sat beside the Lord at his feet, listening to him speak. Martha, burdened with much serving, came to him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me by myself to do the serving? Tell her to help me." The Lord said to her in reply, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, and it will not be taken from her." The Gospel of the Lord. In the second reading this morning from St. Paul's letter to the Colossians, St. Paul speaks about a mystery that has been hidden from ages, is now manifest in God's holy ones. The mystery is Christ in you. Most often when we use the word mystery, we think of a story that has an ending that we try to solve before we get to the last page in the book, or try to solve waiting for the last 5 minutes in the movie. But when the Church uses the term mystery, it goes much deeper. For the Church, a mystery is the truth that is incomprehensible to our reason and can only be knowable through divine revelation. The early Church refers to the sacraments as the mysteries, a mystagogy. When adults are about to come into the Church, they are anointed with the oil of catechumens so that they may have the strength and the grace to be open to the mystery. In the parables he told, in the miracles that he performed, Jesus Christ revealed that he is what the Church calls the mystery of faith. At the most solemn time in the Mass, after the bread and wine have become the body and blood of Christ, we are called upon to proclaim the mystery of faith. And so we respond, Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. Paul therefore reminds the Colossians and us that we have received a mystery, the mystery of Christ within us. Sadly, when it comes to this mystery, many people and ourselves at times can be clueless. We go about our day so busy that we overlook the purpose of our actions. We overlook the reason for our being. We forget about the presence of Christ within us. Like Martha in the Gospel, we are concerned with doing instead of being. Martha was busy doing this and that in her valiant efforts to prepare for Jesus' visit. But Mary, her sister, was concerned with being with Christ himself. Most of us are probably familiar with the acronym WWJD. People still wear those bands with WWJD to remind them to choose a course of action that Jesus would choose. I think it was a pretty good idea, but I'd like to propose an even better guide that I came across preparing this homily. Instead of focusing on Jesus somewhere out there, our focus should be on the presence of Jesus right here and now in our lives within us. WWJD is good, but I suggest WIJSWM. Not too easy to remember, but it means that the mystery of Christ that St. Paul is speaking about is that Jesus is really and truly present here and now within each one of us. When we are attuned to the presence of the Lord, we will force ourselves to consider it a particular action or inaction that will either strengthen or weaken the divine presence within us. For example, some people will say, well, the church says this or that regarding some situation or other, but I disagree. Well, it's not a matter of what the church says. It is a matter of the presence of Christ and His revelation. It is not merely the church teaching what is wrong. To say that it's wrong to get drunk or to commit adultery or to rob a bank. It is a matter of considering what this action is doing to the presence of Jesus Christ in our lives, which guides us to right action. We are becoming more and more like Him, or we are acting contrary to His revelation. A wise spiritual director once asked me, the good way to judge whether an action is moral or not is to ask yourself whether or not you pray better after the action. Interestingly enough, that's my own experience. If after a course of action we find prayer difficult, we have probably driven the Lord out of our lives, or at least have placed a barrier between us and His presence within us. And so I urge you, because we need to pray, and to pray always. We need to nourish not only our bodies every day with food, but we need to nourish our souls with prayer. Most of us wouldn't skip a meal, but how many of us blow off praying? Prayer is the food of the soul. If we treasure the presence of Christ within us, then we need to make time each day, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes, to recognize and acknowledge His presence within us. God gave us 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason. We should be listening to Christ twice as much time as we speak to Him. And if we stop and hear the Lord, well, most often we are going to hear Him in the silence of our heart. We cannot allow the many concerns of our lives to hide the only thing that matters, the presence of Jesus Christ within us. His presence within us, His presence in those we love, His presence in those who reach out to us. When we make the time to be in His presence, when we join Mary of Bethany in just enjoying the Lord in our lives, we will find ourselves walking a road less traveled, a road of serenity in the middle of a hectic life of activity. And when we choose to nourish the presence of the Lord within us, then like Mary, we will have chosen the better part.
Regina Celi,